of honor. This is the kind of technical stuff that happens when you're going live on two different channels at the same time. I'm your host, Zanman Shane Sabuni, along with my good buddy, the Honorable Jeff. And,
Hello.
and we're here today to talk to you about the next event in 2005 TNA, which was an extended episode of Impact called Turning Point 2005.
An extended episode of Impact?
That's how I felt about a lot of it. Yeah.
I,
You said you felt
yeah, I mean,
you said you felt about that way about last week's about the show we covered last week. I felt it more about this week's episode.
yeah, it felt last week or last time it felt like, Genesis felt more like a go home show than an actual pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This one with all of the blood in it really did feel more like a pay-per-view. The ending is still a little rough, but it was not as rough as the ending of Genesis. So I was kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I guess I just never felt like to get out of the blocks in this one. I mean, it was cool to see Bobby Heenan come out, and then, but again, I mean, I didn't feel like it really got going to like the last three matches on this card. Even the Christian Bonnie Brown match I thought was disappointing.
Yeah, and that's fair. That's definitely fair. The 6-man tag match, that base brawl or whatever, was okay. It was nice to see Dale Torborg in the ring because I mean I hadn't seen him since his WCW days. Another Raven match. Granted it was against Chris Kanyon, so that made me happy to see him again. But at the same time, it wasn't anything special, and it wasn't just another way to continue the Raven storyline.
Right.
Austin Aries, Alex Shelley, and Roderick Strong are nowhere near what they become. So it's almost a little tough to watch those three in the early stages of the X Division.
But the thing is though that did bring me back a bit because I remember Alex Shelley's gimmick of being
The paparazzi.
the paparazzi type guy and having the camera with him all the time. I really enjoyed seeing that. I thought the part that I thought was just the sore thumb in that match was Matt Bentley. You know, Shelley, Strong, Aries, and then you have Matt Bentley thrown in there for whatever reason.
And the funniest part is at that time, Matt Bentley was the most polished of the four. And maybe because we're looking back with rose-colored glasses and we see what the other three become and how great they become, that it's you're looking at it going, and Matt Bentley, really?
Well, no, I mean, I think even at that time, I was a bigger fan of the other three than I was Bentley. Because remember, you got to remember, I was an Austin Aries fan from ROH too.
Yeah, and I was a big Alex Shelley fan.
Yeah.
From that time, I loved his paparazzi gimmick, and to see the start of it really was fun.
Yeah, I mean, of the three, I mean, I would say
I could
Roderick
have.
Strong is the one that's grown by leaps and bounds over the years.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, even Alex Shelley, he hasn't really gotten to his creating moves yet.
Right.
He's kind of a generic wrestler at this point in his career. Austin Aries is still smooth and everything. I just can't see him. It's hard to see him as a babyface, and I never saw him in Ring of Honor. So it was definitely a little interesting. But yeah, and the Christian Cage Monty Brown match was good for what it was. It just didn't click with me at all, which was sad because I was really looking forward to it. I never realized how much I missed Monty Brown. And I knew Christian was nails throughout his entire TNA run. But I think that one kind of set a bad tone for me because his promo before was a little too The Rockish. Right down to the millions and millions of fans. And he was telling, I was just waiting for him to tell Monty Brown he could shove it up his candy ass. It was that much of a rock type promo that it kind of pulled me out of what Christian is. And then the match itself was okay. There were a couple of
They even said he even did they were chanting Christian.
Yeah, the millions and millions of
Where the Rock
fans.
always used to say they were chanting the Rock's name. So,
Right. And then he sat back and looked and waited for them to start chanting Christian. It was a little bit, that was a little much. I don't know why he decided to channel The Rock during that and not just be himself, which he was so good at. But yeah, that was a little rough to watch. The match itself, there were some spots in it that looked awkward. Like when that one match where Christian, or that one moment where Christian did the crossbody off the apron onto Monty, or off the top of the ring or ropes to Monty on the outside,
Hmm.
and he tucked his hands.
Yeah, that was weird.
It was just a weird looking spot, and I liked how Don West tried to cover it up by saying, "Oh yeah, he did that so that it would, more impact on Monty from the chest and all that stuff." So, but you're right. The beginning of this card was weird. It did feel a little um, impact-ish, but ultimately, the last three matches made up for it.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed Sabu versus Abyss too, in that barbed wire match. I mean, I know you're gonna say you hated it, but
No, I'm not.
I really enjoyed it.
It's not that I hated it. It's just I don't. I noticed this a little bit later on too with the chair spot with Jarrett and Rhino. It's like we become so accustomed to hardcore matches now that none of this stuff is as brutal as they make it out to be. And then when you go back in 2005 and you see these barbed wire massacre matches that were, at the time, the only place we'd ever seen anything like that was ECW, and a lot of people hadn't seen ECW.
Right.
So, that was new for a lot of people, and it just, to me, it was good for what it was. The right guy wanted. I liked the ending with him being squished in the barbed wire. But here again, too, you've got this guy who's deathly afraid of barbed wire, and he showed absolutely no fear of it once he was inside the ring.
Yeah, but see, we had not watched the impacts in between, and the announcers did say, Don West and Mike Tenay both did say that he had overcome his fear of barbed wire.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I missed that part.
Yeah, which is
I know
interesting.
in the video package before it, they were playing up his fear of the barbed wire. So
Yeah, and you kind of like went right from the Christian Cage Monty Brown match where I had a chance to say anything about it. But I mean, I really thought it was
we just
it,
jump around, dude.
yeah, it was so weird that they didn't have any, that it seemed like they had no chemistry because Cage and because Christian and Jeff Hardy are so interlinked over the years, and Jeff Hardy and Monty Brown had a great match at the last pay per view,
Yeah,
and then Cage and Brown seem to have no chemistry whatsoever.
this is really the start of Monty Brown's heel turn, so I don't think he's embracing the character yet. And I think that might have had a lot to do with it because he's not used to being the guy that leads the match, and I think that might have had a lot to do with the chemistry issues. But I mean, up until this point, Monty Brown was a face. He was just really getting started on his heel turn once Christian got there.
Yeah.
And then his heel turn flopped, and he ended up out of TNA within 2 years.
Yeah, but he got to be Marcus Corvon and then retire. So there's that.
Yeah, he was Marcus Corvon for what, a week and a half before he retired.
Um,
I mean, that was almost as embarrassing as Brendan, whatever his name is, that Chris Harris character,
oh, what the hell was that? Braden Walker.
Braden Walker. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least Corvon, I think, tried, whereas unfortunately Harris did not.
Well, the
Um,
problem is he came into ECW, and he was a perfect fit for it. They just made his character not Monty Brown anymore, and Monty Brown's what got over. The alpha male got over. I love the fact that during that match they started chanting alpha female.
yeah, me too.
I laughed pretty hard when I heard that.
And then that 6 man, or well, first of all, the 8 man tag with Team Canada against Four Live Crew was a bust.
I
Um,
just I
but
This is the third
but
straight pay per view with them. I'm over it.
but I guess I didn't remember that Four Live Crew broke up so soon after Kip James joined them. I mean, the last couple pay-per-views we saw there was suspicion involved, and with Conan then, and now Conan seems to embrace him, and then he just turns on them at the end of the match and cost Four Live Crew the match, bashes BG James in as well, and then he wants Conan, and then he wants Killings to leave with him. It just that just all like kind of blindsided me that all that happened so quickly.
I guess it didn't, because I knew it was shortly after, because it's the next pay per view. I think is when Voodoo Kin Mafia makes their debut.
Okay.
Um, or it was a couple weeks later or something like that. I remember it was shortly after Christian got there that LAX and VKM and all that started up.
I do not remember. I mean, I remember the name, but I don't remember who was in Voodoo Kid Mafia.
Um, it was Kip and BG.
Oh, it was just the New Age Outlaws repackaged under that name. Okay,
Well, they became Voodoo Kin Mafia because that's Vince's initials, VKM.
I do realize that.
So they decided to that was their marketing ploy and their way to get back at WWF for firing them.
Gotcha. Um, I was really happy to see Bobby Heenan come out there and do a little bit of commentary. I mean, he wasn't the same brain, you know, his voice wasn't the same, but he still did have a couple of great one-liners out there.
His
My, my
voice wasn't the same, but he was the same Bobby. He had the same wit.
exactly. Yeah, my favorite was when Mike Tenay said that the fans in Chicago have always been rabid, haven't they, Bobby? He said, "Rabid, yeah, they've been foaming at the mouth."
I think my favorite line was when he first took the headphone from Tanay and he goes, "You owe me $5." Right then, I knew, okay, that's Bobby Heenan. We got Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, and then he called Don West the right name at one point, and then later on he said like John or whatever the hell your partner's name is or something like that.
John, he kept calling him John Best after that
Oh, okay.
instead of Don West. And then he did do a lot to put over TNA though, talking about how much fun it was and uh, how he enjoys it, and this is where real wrestling is now, and that says a lot too. But his one statement about how I haven't enjoyed pro wrestling for the last decade was a little rough because he was right there at the height of the WCW stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. Um, and then the match happened, and unfortunately Sanjay Dutt was in it.
Oh yeah, I don't get Sanjay Dutt.
No, I mean I like I remember the Diamonds in the Rough, and you know of course Simon Diamond has passed away not too long after this, I think. Um, and of course Hale Sabin, and then like you said, it was nice to see Dale Torborg again, but and at least they didn't have AJ Prinzitsky actually wrestle in the match, but it was great to see him out there having fun and all that kind of stuff. But I just get so the snooze button wants to turn on for me once I see Sanjay Dutt come out.
Once he does the second he does that water sprinkler thing,
Yeah,
I'm over it.
exactly.
Simon Diamond didn't die.
Didn't he?
No, says he's 52 years old. He's according to Wikipedia, he's still alive. He's just a retired professional wrestler. Oh, and he was a baseball player.
Hmm. Simon Diamond
He
didn't die.
he was with TNA until 2017. He must have been a backstage guy.
Well, he'll be happy to know I just killed him.
Okay, he'd been he was rehired. He was released in '08 from his contract. Then he was rehired in '09 and as a road agent to replace Jim Cornette and BG James, who had just been fired.
Hey, my puppy's trying to shut off the stream. So
2000, 2012, he was on color commentary. And then he left in 17 with Shane Helms and Al Snow. But yeah, he's still alive. So there's that.
well, good for you, Simon. Great job. I wish you were still with Impact instead of your former partner Johnny Goddamn Swinger. That's what I have to say about that.
Okay, so he was signed or he was offered a contract by the Padres out of high school in '86. Decided to go to college instead, and then he attended training camp in 2005 before the White Sox won the World Series. So I don't know how that makes him a baseball player, but whatever. Anyway, enough about Simon Diamond.
Yes, indeed. I think we talked about most of the matches on the card other than the final three, haven't we?
Well, we touched on them. I mean, as much as they deserve to be touched on. Like I said, it was nice to see Canyon again, but at the same time, a 5-minute squash match against Raven really didn't do much.
Right.
I don't like the fact that they're running out actual decent wrestlers that we're never going to see again. Like Canyon never appeared again after this. Just Incredible never appeared again after Genesis. And these are guys that actually have some talent and they were just there to progress some ridiculous storyline that really doesn't lead anywhere, from what I understand.
I want to say they were both on one of the Hard Justice pay-per-views that they did. But yeah, as far as a regular wrestling talent for them, yeah, they don't show back up that way.
Yeah, and they both had something to offer, even under the different names.
I would debate as to how much PJ Polanco had to offer, but Chris Canyon, I'm totally with you on.
Well, Just Incredible had his moments.
He did as just incredible, but he can't use that name. The name value is gone. He doesn't have Jason to play off of. He didn't. He wouldn't have had. Who the hell was he with? He wouldn't have had
Lance
Lance Storm
Storm.
to play off of. You know, so I mean, just him by himself to me wouldn't be much.
What was the name of their? I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then as soon as you said you couldn't remember Lance's name, I forgot what their
The
tag
Impact
team was.
players.
Impact Players. Okay,
I
yeah.
remember Lance's name. I just couldn't remember who his partner was with for just a second there. So yeah, they were the Impact players though.
I don't know. I enjoyed them, and I definitely enjoyed those guys in ECW.
Yeah, they were great. They were really good characters, and they played off each other well. But I just don't think Justin Credible by himself in TNA would have been very good. That's all I'm saying. He would have had to have somebody else to play off of. Like if he was part of Ravens Bowery or something like that, you know, it might have worked well. Or if you found somebody else to play off that was similar to Storm, it would have worked. But I just don't think him by himself would have been anything special. Maybe he could have been the understudy to Christian and let AJ Styles actually wrestle. You know, I don't know.
So okay, now Raven doesn't actually leave. I thought Raven left, but he feuds with Zabisco for a little while.
It's happening
Um,
right now.
yeah, yeah, but then he has one more match at Final Resolution in January, but then he returns in April,
Oh,
and in that goes all the way to Victory Road, um, in a match that Raven ends up beating Zabisco. Then he comes back later in 2006 at Genesis, with the group Serotonin. Remember when Kaz and Matt Bentley did the whole goth thing?
vaguely.
Yeah, Raven was their leader.
Yeah, we're already well past when we missed where he had
An actual decent run.
no, where he had CM Punk and the future Mickey James in his stable with him.
Oh, yeah.
I think they were called the Bowery, but I could be wrong about that.
Um, the Gathering.
The Gathering. Okay. Yeah.
Alexis Laurie and CM Punk and Julio De Niro.
Oh, that's right. Julio De Niro was there too. Forgot about that.
So yeah, okay, enough of that. But yeah, I mean, there really wasn't much to the beginning of this card, which is sad because I still enjoyed TNA back then. It's just I'm over the For Life Crew Team Canada stuff. I'm over the Raven feud already. Um, and then, like I said, I had my issues with the X Division match, but other than that, this is where it picks up. Once Team 3D's music hits, it's just solid for the rest of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about the three of the four matches that have the longest. Or these matches are four out of the five longest on the three out of the five longest on the card. So makes sense. And also like the tables match plays again, like we said last week about the anywhere brawl. That tables match plays directly into Team 3D's strengths. Absolutely.
Right, and
And
then
and America's Most Wanted can do anything. So
yeah, and it was sad to see James Storm. I don't know what the extent of his injury was there, but he was clearly knocked out. He definitely took that death sentence the wrong way, and his head just bounced off the table.
well, he took it the wrong way, and Devon delivered it the wrong way.
Right. Well, I don't think it's meant to be delivered through a table. I think that's the
Well,
problem with
no,
it.
but I mean, he dropped his entire legs and both his legs and his ass on his head instead of just doing the one leg drop.
Right, and I mean, didn't they put Rhino through a table with the death sentence before?
Yes, they did.
like 2 weeks before that or something, or right before Genesis. So I guess it can be done right, but it was definitely not done right. And James Storm was clearly hurt in that match. Um, but it was, I mean, it was a fun tables match. I like the ending of that.
You know,
You know,
the one thing I'll say about that though, that I was gonna say, it's always a logic hole to me on those tables matches is moving the table out of the way instead of saving your partner from taking a punishment.
right.
Like when you're about to do a superplex on the top rope and your partner's about to take that superplex through a table. Well, instead of stopping the superplex from happening, you move the table. So he still takes a superplex onto the mat. So,
And he falls an extra, couple of feet.
right.
Yeah, I get that too. That's one of those, like, I find logic holes a lot, but that one's escaped me throughout the years. I've never really looked at it and went, huh. I just look at it like, oh, they're trying to save the win. He's going to get hurt anyway, so let's just save the win.
Yeah, I mean that's how you can kind of explain it away. Like they could try to stop the superplex, but something can still happen and it hits. Whereas if you get the table out of the way, then at least you don't lose the match. So, I mean, yeah, I mean that's certainly it's explainable, but at the same time that you're kind of like going like dumb, 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 dumb.
Yeah, if you ever want to see what can happen in an oopsie, just look at the Cena Sheamus tables match when Sheamus won the title.
Because Cena fell off the top rope out of the
Yeah,
table. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the kind of oopsie that can happen. So it makes a little more sense why they'd want to move the table. But
Yeah, because everybody in TNA was obsessed with keeping people strong the way that John Cena had to be kept strong at all times.
right, exactly. And I will say this though, that this match was what we expected. It was hard hitting. It was just a phenomenal match, but nowhere near as phenomenal as this run AJ Styles has been on. This is
Absolutely.
4 straight 5-star matches for AJ Styles. He had that triple threat with Samoa Joe and Chris Daniels. Then he
Right.
had that Iron Man match with Daniels. Then that one Genesis against Petey Williams, and now this. How the hell David Meltzer only thinks there has ever been one 5-star match in TNA when there was these 4 straight ones by AJ? Just blows my mind.
He is very um he is very slow to give an a US based match a 5-star rating.
Yeah, he really doesn't, does he?
No, I mean prior to about a year before this, maybe a little bit more, CM Punk and Samoa Joe wrestled an hour time limit draw that he gave a 5-star rating to, and that was the first time he'd given a United States match a 5-star rating in like 5 years.
It was funny because when I mentioned that to you yesterday, the first thing, or what was it earlier today? I don't remember, but the
Yeah, it was
first thing,
today. Yeah,
first thing you said is, "I've got 5 words for you." I said, "What?"
it didn't happen in Japan.
Dave Meltzer is a tool. My response: Dave Meltzer is a tool. But no, I just don't understand what he's looking for, because this one, I mean, it was 20 minutes, well, 19 minutes long, but it was almost a perfect match. You had AJ with the fire to begin and the quick start. Then you had Samoa Joe. You had back and forth. You didn't have a whole lot of doubt until the ending. Um, and then even the aftermath was spot on too, with Samoa Joe feigning the fact that he's going to give AJ some respect and then hitting him with the chair, and then the return of Christopher Daniels. I just felt like this was a perfect match,
Yeah,
or
it was
as
great.
close to perfect as you can get.
Yeah, it was great. Really great. What was the one 5-star match that he's given in history?
Who? What?
You said that Dave Meltzer's given one TNA match a 5-star rating. Which one? Which match was it?
The No Mercy one, the triple threat with Samoa Joe, Daniels, and AJ.
Okay, so the No Mercy one.
I
So
think it
is it
was no.
so is it the first one or the second one he gave 5 stars to?
I want to say it was the
Because
first triple threat.
second one is coming up soon after this one, I think. The first triple threat. Okay.
I think it was the first triple threat, because I want to say it was No Mercy '05.
Okay.
It was the one where Daniels was the heel, Joe was kind of that tweener, and AJ was clearly the baby face. And I just remember there was a part in the beginning where they got their comedy spot in where Daniels was begging for mercy and they both kicked him in the chest.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering which one because I know there's because to me and I know that and I don't know how you feel about this, but to me the the best match that I've seen, the best match out of any of those is Styles versus Daniels in their second Iron Man match that we just watched at Bound for Glory. I mean, that
Yeah,
to
the
me was straight fire and perfection. So
yeah, that one was amazing. And the timing on that one was hard to beat.
yeah, I
But
agree.
the fact that AJ has really been on this run just blows my mind that he didn't get that none of these other ones were considered
And I remember like
stars by
watching.
him.
I remember like when this happened. Actually, in 2005, I was really disappointed because Styles had lost the X Division title. But at the same time, looking back on it, of course he was going to lose the title. Of course Samoa Joe was going to win. Of course Samoa Joe's undefeated streak was not going to end in his first shot at the X Division title.
It was
Or one star, I should say.
Unbreakable 2005.
Okay,
So it was the one
so it was the first one.
yeah, it was the first one, and then AJ had the 30-minute Ironman, then Petey Williams, then this one. So we're on a string of 4 straight 5-star matches from AJ.
Yep, I would agree with that.
And this one too, I mean, he looked strong in defeat. He looked like a world beater through most of it. He did not look weak at all in this. Much like Christopher Daniels looked strong in that last match, and then he got beaten up after the bell, which didn't make him look bad at all either. So
The only thing I would say, I guess, about that you saying that's a string of 5 star matches is the Petey Williams one against AJ is a great match, but I don't know if it qualifies for 5 stars simply because there was no storyline going into it whatsoever. AJ was kind of just waiting in the wings to see who won the X Division number one contendership in the Ultimate X. Williams won it, then he won it again, and there was no like real heat between the two of them.
yeah, that is true. I mean, other than the fact that the night before Petey had beat him in that finisher match.
True.
I guess you're right. I mean, if you want to take if you want to take the match on its own, that was a 5-star match. If you want to incorporate the stories, which I'm so accustomed to do, I kind of took it on my own because I wasn't really watching all the stories and everything
Hmm.
leading into it, so didn't I didn't really take that into account when I watched it. Looking back at it now, 15 years later.
Yeah, I got you. I totally understand that. I'm just saying that that's kind of how I feel about it. Is that I wouldn't put that one in the same level as the other three just because
Oh no,
there was nothing going on. There was nothing going on leading into it.
I mean, and when I say 5-star match, with rating systems, that's just to say that that was an almost perfect match, or a great match, or one of the best of all time, or that type of thing. Not saying that because to me there are no rating systems when you're giving 6.5 stars to matches now. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true.
So
And I kind of go along with my favorite film reviewer as far as that goes too. Is that when I'm giving you like a rating, it's up to you to decide like if my tastes fit your tastes. I
right,
mean, because I mean, like for instance, like there was that match earlier this year that Ryan thought was a 5 star match, and you and I thought was absolute trash. So I mean, it
right.
just depends on your taste. So I mean, if you have the same if you have around the same sensibilities that I have about a professional wrestling match, and I tell you a match is 5 stars, you're going to want to watch it. If you don't have the same taste I do, like for instance, like for a good example is Miz fan doesn't like the epic style of New Japan and stuff like that. So there's plenty of matches that I would say are 5 star that he would look at and go, nah, not to my taste.
Yeah, it
So
took too long. There wasn't enough flashiness. There wasn't, it just was overdone. Yeah, I get that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it, for
So for him, very few of the matches that I say are 5 star are going to be actual 5 star. Whereas if you really value the like Imp and I are such so in tuned, and you are so in tuned into NJPW right now that very rarely are am I going to say it's a 5 star match and you guys are going to completely just hate it. So
yeah, I mean, if you want to look at a perfect example of, you know, like my rating system, I've always been story driven. So I'll factor in a great story that builds up to it, the match itself, and what happens after the fact. The post match and the weeks leading up to it usually get factored into my rating systems. But every now and then, I'll say this match is standalone without any story or anything is amazing. And if you want a perfect example, Shibata versus Ishii, Wrestle Kingdom 10.
Mm-hmm.
No story except they just wanted to see who was the toughest.
Yep.
And that to me is one of those classic all-time matches that I'll sit and I'll watch time and time again. And there's some other ones throughout time, but then there's other instances where I might not give it a 5-star because, or I might not, even though I give it a 5-star, it's more because of the story. And if I'm going to truly enjoy the match the same way again, I need to watch the story and everything that built up to it, like Ravishing Rick Rude versus Jake Roberts. Amazing storyline leading into I'm not going to say instant classic, but a fairly decent match. That entire program was 5 stars.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit and watch that match over and over again and relive that experience because it just wasn't, the match alone wasn't what made it 5 stars, but the program and the storyline leading into it was definitely a 5-star classic storyline.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and speaking of Jake Roberts, there was also like a great, there was a match that if they had another stipulation come up on the wheel, it might have ended up being in that same range. But even though it was a great story going into it, there's no way you can make a coal miner's glove match a classic.
No, that is true. That really is true. Yeah, that's. Oh, I can't argue that.
But
But
everything leading into that entire Sting Jake Roberts story was fantastic.
oh yeah.
And the match certainly let it down.
The match definitely let that down. Yeah. I can't even believe you brought that up again. But no, this match it's hard for me not to say this was a match that stole the show. It's hard for me not to say that this is AJ's 4th straight, and if we watch the next one too, which I think the next one is what is the next one?
Final Resolution 2006.
So yeah, January of 2006. And if we watch that, maybe we'll see a 6th one with AJ that steals the show too. But man, what a run he was on in around this time, mid to late 2005, and probably right up until 2008 when he made his heel turn.
So let me ask you something about that. So, how much of this do you think is just AJ being AJ, and how much of it do you think is him saying, "You know what, motherfuckers, you're going to push me right back down to the X division again after everything I've shown you I could do in this division. Let me show you what I can do again." How much?
I think
I mean, how much of it do you think was because he had such a chip on his shoulder about it?
it's AJ being AJ, and I think the fact that there's a reason why he's the GOAT. You look at another guy like Jericho, who we also look at as one of the greatest of all time. He never, regardless of his placement on the card, he was pushed to the main event. He won the world title. Then he was pushed right back down to the tag team division. Still went out there and put on just phenomenal instant classics with everybody he was in the ring with. It didn't matter what position on the card he was going to go out there and steal the show. And I think that's a lot of the same AJ Styles mentality, where he doesn't care where he is. He's going to steal the show and become the talk of the town. And, he goes out there and proves it night in, night out. There's a reason why he's the GOAT, and these are reasons why.
Fair enough. I just thought it was worth a question worth thinking about and asking.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely is.
Because it definitely during that time I was feeling like, what's this guy got to do to become the future when he clearly should be.
Well, and I mean, we're looking at that, and you and I kind of do that with a lot of different wrestlers. We're like, this guy should be pushed. We did that with Marty Scurll a couple of years ago, where he should have been the Ring of Honor champion and never got there. We did it with AJ Styles. You did it with Davey Richards for a while. We've got our favorites who are our guys, and when they're not, in the top spot where they deserve to be, well, why aren't they being questioned? But then when you look at it, like especially TNA during this time, this was solely about politics. This was about the Jarretts putting the name, on the top of the marquee because they had just gotten a TV deal and they, wanted to, and they did their little reset, because they wanted to get as many eyes to the product as possible. And at that time, Jeff Jarrett, who was a household name, was going to draw more eyes to the TV than AJ Styles, who was, amazing. Hardcore fans loved him, but he wasn't quite the household name.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, I definitely do have my opinions about my favorite wrestlers, but for me, for me, I think this is a completely different situation. Simply because of what you just mentioned, that this was not only a reset being pushed; it was the second time they'd done that same reset. When TNA first started, um, about a year or so after TNA started, AJ won the world championship, and he was at the top of the card as the NWA world champion. Then when they stopped doing the weekly pay-per-views and they moved to the Fox Sports networks, they they restarted. They basically went right back to the beginning, put the X Division title back on AJ, put the world title um, on Jarrett, and then brought it back again. And then they had the same kind of, not exactly the same storyline happen, but the same kind of thing happen where where AJ fought his way up. He was the NWA World Champion. He was on top of the promotion. Then they lost their deal with Fox Sports Net. Raven won the title from him in, I think, a King of the Mountain match. And and then when they went back on TV, like shortly before or shortly after, Jarrett went back to be the world champion. AJ went back to being the X Division champion. Then not only that, but Chris Harris, who had broken out as a single star and had
Went
competed
back to
for the world
AMW.
title, went back to
Yep.
AMW. So it was to me, it was simply that they just kept on resetting the promotion instead of letting the guys actually naturally progress, organically progress.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to
And
give.
I do, and you're right. I mean, there definitely was more eyes on the project later on, and there are probably like a lot fewer people that there were probably like a lot more people don't realize that happened than do. But me as a longtime fan, kind of looked at it going, I already saw this shit. I already saw this
Right.
shit. I already saw this shit. You know.
And see, for me, I wouldn't have cared if AJ had never won the NWA, or the world title. His runs and his matches as an X Division champion. But then again, I was always a Randy Savage fan. He was never, the world heavyweight champion. He was the Intercontinental champion. And then I was always the Bret Hart fan when he was the Intercontinental champion. Once he became the heavyweight champion, he was not really the same Bret Hart anymore, and he was gone pretty much after that. And then the only reason he has as many titles as he does is because they flip flopped it like candy in '97.
Yeah. I mean, no. I mean, maybe I'm not explaining it very well, but no, I wouldn't. I would never have cared if AJ had not been the NWA World Champion. What I cared about was that they had him regress back to that twice.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I'm looking at. I don't look at it so much as a regression. Like
But it was. That's how they looked at it.
when you look at like Triple H, when he won the Intercontinental title after being the main eventer for 6 years, that was kind of that felt more like a regression than anything. I never felt that with AJ.
But you also weren't watching it as long as I was either.
No, that's true. You're right. You're right. I wasn't. I just never really felt. I guess I never really felt it that way. But then again, like you said, I wasn't watching the weekly pay-per-views. I didn't watch it on Fox Sports. I kind of, once it hit Spike is when I started watching it.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it was kind of a lot of the feeling I had at the time, and I still, but I kind of like pushed it aside because I wanted to support the promotion. Was you know, you're not investing in me the way I've invested in you. You're making me watch the same stuff that I've already seen twice now because you want to reset the promotion. And that felt like a slap in the face to me as a fan.
Yeah, I can see that. Kind of like the Okada win when
Yes.
taking the belt off Jay White. Kind of was a reset too.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I felt exactly the same way about that.
And
Um,
that was an unnecessary reset. That was just a way to get Okada and Tanahashi at Madison Square Garden.
yeah, when you could have easily done Jay White and Tanahashi there, or
Or
Jay
you
White and
could
Okada. So,
or you could have easily done Okada and Tanahashi and had Jay White against somebody else.
yep,
They didn't it was like The Rock and Cena. They didn't need the heavyweight title.
that is
When
very true. Also,
when The Rock took the title off CM Punk, um, they didn't need the title to sell the tickets. It was Okada Tanahashi. NJPW fans know Okada Tanahashi. They would have paid to see them whether there was a belt on the line or not.
and speaking of not needing the title, I still, now that we've gone through their entire series, the three singles matches and that great six-man tag from the last pay-per-view, Genesis, I still do not understand why the hell they didn't have Rhino hold the championship for those 2 months.
I Yeah, it didn't make any sense. They could have easily had Jarrett win it back here,
Exactly.
and at least given Rhino a couple of. But again, too, where in that match, that first match, when Rhino won it, I didn't think it was overbooked. This one, I thought was overbooked. I thought the match was great. I was so excited that we finally got to see the table spot against the entrance ramp. A little disappointed it didn't go the way I wanted it to. I was hoping,
With it being from the position of from the perspective of the tunnel.
or
Yeah.
even with the table exploding, the table just kind of kicked out from underneath them.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that table explode.
Right.
But just kind of kicked out from underneath them, which, I guess when you try something like that, that's bound to happen. But I felt like the ending of this match was so overbooked it really took it down. I loved the match itself until Team Canada came in.
Yeah, you and I didn't talk about that Impact special that was between Genesis and Bound for Glory, but
Yeah.
the main event that one was kind of disappointing because it seemed like it was basically the exact same match as we saw at Bound for Glory, which was understandable because they only had like 2 days to think about it between the two, the time of Bound for Glory, and the time they filmed that match. But this match was dynamite. It was absolutely great,
Yeah, it was,
and then, but then you had to have Team Canada, every single fucking member of Team Canada be involved in it.
including Scott D'Amore.
Yeah. So I mean, Rhino loses the championship. The bad guy wins, or I should say, he loses a shot at the championship. The bad guy wins, and that story appears to be over since now Sting's coming in and Christian's just come in. So the question is like, how does Rhino get revenge on it? So I'm hoping that over the next several months, Rhino has some kind of a program with Team Canada, because otherwise all of it was bullshit.
Well, Team Canada is close to breaking up too,
Right.
because Petey Williams kind of goes off on his own for a little bit, and then he comes back with Scott Steiner, and then Bobby Roode goes off, and Bobby Roode actually disappears for a while, doesn't he?
I think so.
And then he comes back with that whole $1 Million Man gimmick, um, which leads to beer money, which leads to greatness. And then A1 just kind of goes away. I think they're less than a year away from breaking up, if I remember right.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like looking down the calendar, and I didn't look at any of the cards coming up or anything, so I don't know if this is the case or not. But I kind of look at this going, Rhino should be like really be trying to like going through Team Canada, then maybe having a match where he's the captain against Team Canada in lockdown.
Anything to get him away from Four Live Crew would make me happy.
Yeah, but you know what I mean is that Rhino's got to have some kind of come up. He has to have Team Canada some kind of come up after costing him the championship, doesn't he? I mean, that's how I would book it.
Well, we get another rehash of Ryan. I'm just kind of looking through the main events over the next few months. And we get a lot of Jeff Jarrett main events. Holy crap, through 2006. But you got Sting, Christian, Jarrett, Monty Brown, and just kind of writing down some names. Here's Rhino in the main event with Scott Steiner. In that same main event in a four-way match.
Weird. Okay.
Then you've got some more Christian Cage. Wow. Christian versus Abyss versus Sting versus Jarrett versus Killings, a five-way match. Sting versus Cage versus Joe versus Steiner as a fatal 4-way. Oh, and then Kurt Angle comes in November.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, 06 is a good year for TNA as well. So, as long as we're still in lockdown with not much to talk about, I say we continue running through 06 of this.
Don't you feel bad for Christian that he went into TNA, he thought he was going to be the big dog there, be the top star there, and then less than a year later, here comes Kurt Angle.
Well, and if you look at, I mean, let me count here, because he kind of leaves, in early 08. Oh, no, geez, he's there through 08. But let's just, in 06, you've got Christian Cage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of the 12 pay-per-views he main events.
In 2006?
In 2006. And then in 2007, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's in 6 main events in 2007 too.
Okay.
Kurt Angle's got 2 in 06, and then Kurt Angle's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in 07.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that it feels like Kurt Angle coming in kind of stole Christian's thunder a bit.
Yeah, it did, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why he was so eager to leave and go back. And then Kurt Angle kind of takes over for Christian Cage, as the leader of, whatever, the Christian Coalition or whatever they were.
Yeah.
But Christian is still treated as a big deal. I mean, he here too in 08 main events 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's in 5 main events in 08.
Okay.
So he is treated like a big deal, and Jeff Jarrett kind of moves to the background here after 06. He's in a lot of them in 06, but then in 07, it mainly becomes Cage against Angle with some Sting thrown in there.
Okay, well that's good.
Because, I mean, Jeff Jarrett's only in 2 main events in 2007.
Good.
Actually, he's only in 1 main event in 2007.
Good.
And then, but in 2006, he's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's in 6, 7 in 2006. So there's kind of a change in the guard. Once Angle gets there, Sting and Angle kind of take the top of the card, and Jarrett kind of moves a little bit to the background, and then it just gets overrun by Samoa Joe. I mean, Jesus, 2008 Samoa Joe main events, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row.
In 2008 for Samoa Joe?
Yep, 2008. He's got 7 main events in a row.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't know. I'm enjoying this. I say we continue on here to see where some of these stories go.
I'm happy to do that. I was also thinking about suggesting that we turn the dial back and look at an older NJPW event as well. But I'm certainly willing to keep going on TNA.
I don't know. I guess it's up to you. We can take a break if we want and do an NJPW, or we can do keep on this. I wouldn't mind watching Final Resolution next, though.
All right, let's do that.
Okay, so next week it's going to be Final Resolution. I do want to touch on a couple of things before we say goodbye, because we're coming up on that hour right now. But some guy in New York. Do you hear about this? He's making a name for himself because he called out Alexa Bliss and compared her in-ring work to her obviously boring sex life.
Whoa.
Right? No, first of all, I love Alexa Bliss's in-ring work. Not only is she, absolutely gorgeous, but she came a long way when she hit that main roster. She was easily the best heel on the roster. That was men or women at the time. And she has put on some really, really good matches. So to say that she is boring in the ring is just, you can say what you want about taste, but that's just false.
Yeah, no kidding.
As much as we dislike Charlotte because she's, so over the, she's so pushed down everybody's throat, I still have to give her credit for being talented in the ring. But to say what that guy did about Alexa Bliss, and I don't even want to say the guy's name. It's just, first of all, I didn't care enough about it to think about it when I heard what he'd said. But Alexa Bliss was on Twitter talking about it. That's how I found out about it.
I see. Yeah, we're not going to give the guys any name credit whatsoever. No.
No, it's ludicrous. To do something like that. I mean, we try to stay as impartial as we can, and even though we've got our wrestlers that we hate, and we got our wrestlers that we don't like, I still will always respect their in-ring work. And I would never say that that's how bad they are in bed. As the quality of their in-ring work reflects on their how bad they are in bed. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And then the other thing, real quick, and I know we're gonna.
And it probably isn't true anyway.
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not even gonna speculate, but um,
You've been dreaming of it.
of course, but I'm not going to speculate. The other thing that I wanted to touch on briefly, since we got a few minutes here, is that um, Double or Nothing. Holy crap, what a pay-per-view. Especially that we talked about the men Money in the Bank match, and how it was such a joke with the comedy spots and the just ridiculousness, and the fact that they made the Ultimate Winner look like a complete joke throughout it because he stopped to have a sandwich halfway through the match, and Brother Love and the AJ flashbacks. That's Stadium Stampede match that AEW had at Double or Nothing was everything they wanted Money in the Bank to be. It was
I loved that match. It was fantastic. Um, I've seen it called the greatest match of all time, which I wouldn't go that far.
no.
But I mean, as far as a cinematic style match, it was absolutely fantastic.
My only negative about the entire thing was the Adam Page stuff. Like, I mean, it fit his character, yes, but for the first half of the match, he didn't show up on time. He wasn't there for the start. Then he comes running in with the horse. Okay, I get it. Yeah, you got to chase down Sammy. That's a good, funny spot. Haha. But then to wander around the back looking for Sammy and find a bar when his friends are, out there getting their asses kicked 5-on-4 was a little bit ridiculous. Now, granted, it led to a pretty cool spot in the bar, but at the same point, that was the only real negative I had of the entire match. Matt Jackson, um,
Well, before you go on, let me see. I was kind of feeling that way myself watching. I was like, I was like, where the hell is Adam? Like I want to see Hangman Page because he's clearly my favorite guy. He's my favorite guy of the Elite. So you know that already.
right?
But
Yeah,
but then I kind of thought about it, and I felt like um, it was fine because it did fit his character, it fit with everything they've been doing with him. And I know that I see what you're saying. And I know you said that yeah, it fits his character, and that's the thing is it fits his character. So I mean, what would Hangman Page that is currently been going on in TNA or I'm sorry in AEW do? He would do exactly what he did
yeah,
there. So
exactly. So I mean, while it stuck out as a sore thumb, and while I thought it was the only negative, I'm not going to give it knocks because it led to a great barroom brawl, which had some great spots at the table, and Paige throwing the pull balls at Hager, and then the running them down the bar, and then Paige and Omega having their toast with the milk and the whiskey. It was some great spots there that made a lot of sense and were a lot of fun to watch. But like I said, at that time, or even now, it just kind of stuck out as the one thing, the one negative, the one change I would have made. But it's hard to argue it because of all it gave us, and also the fact that it really did fit his character and what he did. And we got to watch Sammy Guevara run from a horse.
exactly,
So,
and also I loved that assisted buckshot lariat.
yep. Yeah, that was fun. Oh, the one where Kenny got on his hands and knees.
Yeah.
Another spot that I really really loved that made me laugh the whole time. Well, I mean, Sammy was on fire throughout the match, but that the 100 yards of Northern Light suplexes,
Hmm.
that was a fun spot. Sammy thinking he won the match because of he got hit with the sprinkler and stood up acting like he'd won the match, and then to find out that he's being chased by another golf cart uh, was fun. That one-winged angel was sickening. Watching that,
Yeah, it was.
I stood up in on my couch and I went, "What the hell did I see? What the fuck happened?" That was just a sickening spot.
Yeah, I loved all the Matt Hardy stuff too. I loved all
Oh, the
he
Matt Hardy pool stuff when
yeah
he he comes out as the original Goth Hardy, and then he's the version one, and they even brought it in the matter of fact, or whatever as they called
yeah
it.
yeah
That was a fun spot. I liked the as as
and I
silly
and,
as
and
the
I, and I loved him. I loved him, taping up Ortiz and then punching him in the face and going, "Take one of these and call me in the morning."
that was pretty funny. Take one of these, whack, and call me in the morning. I'm prescribing you to the chair. Yeah, that was a fun spot. I the only really corny spot was Jericho throwing the challenge flag, but I got it. It didn't take away too much. And it was kind of
I had to explain that to Imp on Saturday
oh,
night.
did you? Well, he's not an American football fan, so
Well,
I
neither am I,
understand.
but I know how it works. And he was like, I assume it's. And then he was like, the thing in the end zone was confusing, but I'm assuming there's some kind of a thing in the NFL where you can't celebrate after a touchdown. And I said, yeah, that's why it's
Yeah,
called the No Fun League.
the 15-yard penalty that they gave to Matt Jackson. Then he super kicked the referee.
Yeah,
And then the challenge flag that the challenge flag that Jericho threw was a little bit weird, but it kind of got its comeuppance because he was throwing his little whiny fit, and then Adam Page ran the chalker over him.
right.
So it was kind of like his little comeuppance for being a dick. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, the whole thing was fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed all of it. And you and I had speculated about, like, how are they going to do Falls Count Anywhere when they, in that big setting, and the answer was clear. Let's have 10 referees.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the other thing I like too is I thought during that match, and I thought all night long, I thought Ross was on point all night long. And when he started making fun of himself and Tony and everything, when he was talking about how we need 20 cameras out here to follow the action, and then the truck said in his ears, "Well, we've only got 18."
Yeah.
So they made that into a joke. I thought he was on point the whole night. I really liked his commentary.
A couple, yeah, except for a couple times where he was like that, the get off my lawn type guy, where when he said he wasn't going to acknowledge the 18 cameras, and when he also said, like, when there was another spot where something happened, and he was like, yeah, I wasn't going to mention that because it's stupid or something.
Yeah, there was the Ace Crusher. Was that on Double or Nothing
Was
when
it the Ace
Excalibur
Crusher?
called it an Ace Crusher, and he said we don't call that here. We don't call it an Ace Crusher here, or was that on Dynamite?
That
I
was
don't
on
remember.
Dynamite. No, yeah, that was there was something else on that show where he said he wasn't going to call it. So
Yeah, I guess I
until
didn't.
until somebody else brought attention to it.
I thought he was. I thought he was. Did a hell of a job.
It was it was in the opening. It was in the casino ladder match when Marco Stunt came out with the little ladder. He said he wasn't going to even acknowledge
Oh,
that was happening until, if you guys want to call it, you can. I'm not going to say anything about it.
yeah. Well, yeah. I think he got in too much trouble for some of his hornswoggle jokes, to be honest with you. So I think he's a little afraid now.
Oh, it could be.
Uh,
Um, and during the event, and even after, when Imp and I were doing this show, I was pretty down on the winner of the Casino Battle Royal. I'm sorry, the Casino Ladder match, and who was also the surprise entrant in it. But I've had a couple days to reflect, and it's like I've always liked Brian Cage. It was just that for the last 13 months or so, it felt like he was an albatross holding down TNA or Impact, and that may not be his fault. It could have been injury, and I know he is getting married. I know he's having a kid, and
well,
it
he
was
also
Impact,
had
and it
he
was
also
Impact.
had two lengthy injuries during that too.
Yeah, and it was Impact's choice to keep the title on him, not his. So,
Right.
so I mean, really, I was probably too hard on him. It was just kind of like, but I mean, I would certainly rather it would be him than Zack Ryder or EC3. So,
Well,
um,
the thing about
and it's intriguing to have. Taz be his coach. I mean, Amy and I both kind of had the same thought, and maybe you had the same thought even watching it. Is that the only other guy I'd rather see Taz with is Jeff Cobb. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that does make sense, And the thing about Brian Cage too is, for people that have followed him, we remember him as being, um, the Machine, and his work in Lucha Underground, then his work in TNA or in Impact. I mean, but that last 6 months of his Impact run, and then the fact that he's been off TV now for almost a year,
yeah,
was it almost kind of necessary for them to turn him into a beast again. I just wish they would have done a better job of it. I liked the fact that they had everybody burying him, but the fact that he stayed buried for so long before finally bursting out of the pile kind of killed that little bit of momentum he had. I don't have a problem with him winning it. I don't know if walking into the company and getting an instant title shot is the best way to do it, but out of that group, we've already seen 3 of them get title shots. The only one that really made sense was Luchasaurus, so seeing Brian Cage win it made sense,
yeah, it did.
and I was okay with it. I mean, we've already seen Darby Allin have his shots. We've seen, SCU have their shots. Without Ray Phoenix in the match, I really don't picture Joey Janela or Kip Sabian or Orange Cassidy going after a title shot. So when you take out those guys, the only 2 left are Luchasaurus, who deserves it, and Brian Cage.
Oh, and how hilarious was it? Speaking of Orange Cassidy, to see him try to stand up the ladder without opening up, just to try to get this stand up straight,
Yeah.
and then like just kind of watching it fall.
Oh, Colt Cabana was the other guy that was in there, and I don't know about Colt, but I don't see him in the world title picture either.
No.
And I don't know why. I don't know if he just doesn't have enough credibility yet again. Um, he hasn't really been in many matches outside of a couple of tag matches, and then got destroyed by Archer.
Yeah.
So I don't really see him as title contender material.
No, and he's a baby face right now, and so is the skinniest TNT champion of all time. So I don't see that that's going to be anything on the horizon right now for him to challenge that title.
Skinniest TNT champ. You mean heel Cody?
I do. I do mean heel Cody.
It's time for them just to embrace the fact that Cody's a heel.
Yeah, he did. He didn't even win the damn title clean.
No, he didn't. And that I will. I saw people absolutely love that match. I was so disgusted with it.
Yeah.
I really was, because it was more of the same Cody. It's the same formula. He got his ass kicked. He got beaten down. He got, and then some few lucky things go his way, and now all of a sudden he's the TNT champion.
Yeah, and I had a mini rant about it on Saturday night. But I mean, basically, all the same stuff we've been talking about is like, you know, here it is. It's basically like a legal version of the $1 million championship, where he couldn't win the title, so he had to create his own championship, and he put himself in the tournament for it, and he cheats to win it. So now he's the first ever TNT champion.
And not only does he cheat to win it, he ruined a monster in the process.
Indeed.
Because now you've got Lance Archer, who looks like he can't do anything without Jake Roberts there. Jake Roberts leaves, and all of a sudden Cody gets the upper hand and wins the match 2 minutes later,
Well,
after getting
it did take interference
destroyed.
by both Arn Anderson and Mike Tyson, though.
Yeah, but it's still the fact that it was kind of like, as soon as Jake left, all of a sudden Lance Archer fell apart. He had interference by 2 60-plus-year-old guys.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't want to get hit by Mike Tyson, but I don't. It just, you worked so hard to make the Murder Hawk monster just a destructive beast, and in one night ruin it.
I agree. Yeah. So again, after this event was over, Cody is now the thriftiest TNT champion of all time.
The thriftiest?
Yeah.
I don't get the thriftiest.
You don't? He's the only TNA champion there's ever been, so he has
Oh,
to be the leader.
oh, oh, Jesus.
Don't worry, there's more coming.
He'll come out with a briefcase full of money and share it with everybody. So I don't know, but I'm sure we'll talk more about it tomorrow night. But I wanted to touch on, especially that Alexa Bliss thing, because that's been bugging me since I read it yesterday.
Well, while I know we're over an hour now, but still, I- there's something that happened yesterday after like you and I that I saw that I saw yesterday after you and I went off the air talking about a little briefly about this about Batwoman. I think yesterday. So Batwoman, for those of you who don't know, is part of the CW DC universe, the Arrowverse that Jeff and I love so much. And Ruby Rose, the lead actress in there, has said that she's going to leave the show. Well, I read last night that and this is kind of where our worlds are intersecting here, Jeff, that Sonya Deville is interested in being thrown in the mix of the LGBT community to be, I'm sorry, LGBTQ community to be thrown, given a chance to play Kate Kane slash Batwoman, taking over that role from Ruby Rose.
I don't know what to think about it.
I don't either, but I thought I would throw it out there to see if you had any thoughts. So, I mean,
I mean,
to me, she's a little old for it. Um,
yeah, I mean, I
but
would
and
think that.
and she like looks nothing like Ruby Rose, so that there's that problem. But I
Well,
mean,
I also wonder why.
and I also don't know like I mean her vision is to be an actress going forward, but I just don't know that she's accomplished enough of an actress to be the lead role in a television series at this point.
And I guess I haven't seen the Batwoman yet. I'm still, working through the earlier seasons of the DCU. But um, why isn't Barbara Gordon not Batwoman?
That's Batgirl.
They're the same person.
No, Batwoman is Kate Kane. Batgirl is Barbara Gordon.
I'm all confused.
That's
I
okay.
guess I never realized there was a Batwoman and a Batgirl.
Yeah, Batwoman is Kate Kane. She's a lesbian. She has like the pink hair coming out of her mask and like and like the pink um, bat symbol on her chest. She has like the red lipstick.
Oh, okay. I never got into. I just always assumed there was only Batgirl. I never got it. Guess I never got into the Batwoman comics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
I was just trying to answer your question.
well, good job. You did.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, Batgirl. I don't think Batwoman comes around until Batgirl has actually been crippled and become Oracle, though. So
That makes sense.
that might be why you didn't realize it had happened.
As possible. But I mean, the rest of it we'll probably touch on off and on tomorrow while we're watching Dynamite. But I felt like at least those couple of segments really deserved their own time, especially that Stampede match. And I didn't want to be watching Dynamite and trying to talk about that Stampede match at the same time.
No, and I think maybe it's something that won't most we touch on tomorrow night, but also something worth mentioning about that show is how great performance Hikaru Shida had
Oh, yeah.
in honor of one of her best friends passing away earlier in the
Yeah, that
weekend
was
actually. So
she was amazing. That match was great. And so was the Harper Moxley match.
yeah, those three matches I thought were the best matches on the show.
Those last three, yeah. The rest of them were. I did not. I mean, I didn't like the Archer Cody Rhodes match or Cody match at all. I didn't like the. The MJF Jungle Boy was good, but not great. I feel like it was a preview of what we can get out of these two.
Exactly. Yeah.
It never felt like it. It really never felt like it hit that third gear. It just kind of it puttered along, and then all of a sudden was done.
Yeah, and then the other women's match, there was just unfortunately, Chelsea Baker injured her knee. She's probably out for a year or so, and so Penelope Ford had to admirably stepped in and did a good job against Chris Statler, but it was never the match it was good. It was never the match that the other two would have had. So
No, it's not. And I mean, Penelope Ford is a great wrestler, but she's not Britt Baker. And she's not portrayed to be Britt Baker, where Britt Baker is, um, you know, has come so far over the last couple of years just in her character work, but then also when you add in how good she's gotten in the ring too. Penelope Ford is being showcased more as a manager, so to have her kind of thrown into that spot was really, really rough for her.
Yeah. Plus, you didn't have the story. Plus, you didn't have the story going in that Baker did. You know.
No,
So
exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it had its ups and downs. Ultimately, I felt like it was a great show. Not as good as well, no, not as good as last year's.
no,
I still think the
no,
Jericho
no.
Omega match last year was.
No, I saw it. So people saying it was the greatest AEW show of all time, but it feels like every time AEW show it has a show, people start saying it's the greatest of all time.
Well, they're going to because they've got really nothing to look at.
Yeah.
I still think nothing will beat All In, even though that's technically not, that's a Ring of Honor show, not an AEW show. But since it was the main four guys and 90% of that roster is now in AEW.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the best AEW show so far is All Out, but
Yeah,
you
All
know,
Out was strong too.
but I mean, I realize I have some bias for being there as well. But I mean, you had
Well, that was the best. That was the best under the AEW banner.
that's what I mean. The best
Yeah,
yeah, official AEW show to me has been All Out.
right. Me too. And All In is still my favorite show that they've done
Right.
altogether.
Yeah.
All Out under the since they've officially been open in AEW, yes, All In is the best. Or I'm sorry, All Out is the best show they had. Double or Nothing last year was great, but All Out was definitely their best.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. And none of their shows have been bad.
No,
But I mean, to me, All Out stood above, and beyond. So
I like the fact that they're trying these different things. Like they did the wild card battle royal last time. They did the the casino ladder match this time. They're not. I don't know if they're trying to find a signature match for the events or what, but I like the fact that they're trying different things.
I would stick with this one. I would stick with this ladder. I think having the ladder match where you have something coming out every couple minutes worked really well.
Yeah, I did too. I like that a whole lot better than that wild card um, battle royal last year, where what 12 guys came out at a time.
I think it was five at a time, and then they did the same thing at All Out for the women.
Yeah, I didn't. That was kind of a mess. I like this style a whole lot better. I really like the fact that, and if they do continue this match, they're eventually at some point going to need to have somebody win it. One of the first two or three people that gets out there actually win it before everybody gets to the ring.
Yeah, they definitely should.
But okay, well, that's all I got. Guys, if you're listening on YouTube, we appreciate it. We've got two YouTube channels going. We've got our own Kingdom of Honor, also the Lords of Pain Radio YouTube channel. Look them up at youtube.com/Kingdom of Honor or youtube.com/LOP Radio. If you are listening, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell. We do this twice a week, and who knows, maybe sometimes three times a week. Going live on our Kingdom of Honor channel for sure. Also, our Patreon page, it's Kingdom of Honor, or I'm sorry, patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. We put up all of our archives, literally everything we've ever done in podcast form is on that in our archive section. And also, we have Patreon exclusives, and all of our YouTube exclusive shows are there as well. So you can listen to the podcast version of those too. And it's a small donation. It helps us out, helps keep things rolling on our end, and it gives you guys some great content to listen to, of course, which is starting to pick up again because we're starting to figure out this whole work at home stuff. And then of course our Twitter, I'm at Regi Co-op, he is at ZanmanLOP, and you can find us easily by using either hashtag DAD for Dynamite After Dark or hashtag KOH for Kingdom of Honor.
And tomorrow night here on LOP Radios on YouTube, and then later on Red Circle, we will be doing a live watch along, our second live watch along of Dynamite, and then of course, like you mentioned, talking more about um, Double or Nothing as well. On Thursday is MCLOP Radio Adventure. On Friday is the WWF The Legacy Series, which I think they're on the main event now, episode where Andre the Giant wins the world title from Hulk Hogan with a crooked double referee switch, all that fun stuff. Um, and then we'll be right back with you next week with more Kingdom of Honor and Final Resolution 2006. So that's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
Goodbye.